Hello Ping Group, this is the third week of online education. I hope you can follow it properly. In this video, we are going to cover a topic from your Grammar and Beyond books, and it is Unit 21. The questions we are going to answer are, how to give an advice and how to make a suggestion. If you want, you can follow it from your books. If everyone is ready, let's start. First, let's have a look at the difference between advice and suggestion. Although they seem like synonyms, there is a difference between advice and suggestion. This is the definition of advice on Cambridge Dictionary. As you can see, it is about what you should do or how you should do it. When it comes to suggestion, as you can see again, it's a possible plan. So we can say that suggestion is weaker than advice, so it makes us use different models and patterns. We will first cover advice and then suggestion. I think going over them one by one would be easy for you to follow. So let's start with should. We will see some sentences and we will talk about them. You should call your mother more often. Is this sentence a rule? No, it's an advice for you. Your mother would expect for you to call, so you should call your mother more often. Or this one, your shoes should be repaired. They seem old, so they should be repaired. As you can see, this is a passive form, should followed by be and repaired, verb 3 form of repair. Or this one, he shouldn't go to the concert because he has a lot of homework. A negative sentence, a negative advice this time. Or this one again, a negative advice. You shouldn't try to translate words all the time. It's a good advice for you. Don't do that. And this one, I'm asking for an advice now. Should I learn English or Spanish? I'm giving you options. So you will choose one of them and give me one of those as an advice. Or this one, should I go to the party tonight? This time we won't have any option. Or this one, what should I tell him when he calls? We can use should with a WH question, of course. Or this one, where should we go tonight? Again, with WH questions, we use should after WH questions just before the subject. As you can see from these sentences, you can use should in every type of sentence, in positive sentences, in negative sentences, in questions, any sentence type. Okay, what about ought to? Again, we'll see some sentences, we'll talk about them. We ought to do more exercise, especially in these quarantine days. It's an advice again, so it seems very close to should. So instead we can use should, of course. We should do more exercise, we can say. Or this one. You ought not to speak to your mother with that voice. It's a negative advice for you. Don't do that. Or this one. You ought not to order so much food as we are only two. It would be wasted. What about questions? We cannot use ought to in question forms. Instead, we should use should. This one, ought she to call the police? We cannot say this. Instead, we must say, should she call the police? The main difference between ought to and should is questions. While we can use should in question forms, we cannot use ought to. We have the third modal verb. That one was had better. Had better is used for strong advice. If you do not follow the advice, something negative will happen. That's why I call it an Italian mafia style. the Godfather style. She had better be ready for next week's meeting. If she is not ready for next week's meeting, something negative will happen to her. Or this one, you had better pay your debts. If you don't, something negative will happen. Negative form of had better is had better not. It is not had better or not anything else. It's had better not. You had better not tell Elizabeth about the broken glass. She will go crazy. You did something wrong. If you tell her, she would go crazy. Something negative will happen. Okay, so far we have seen how to use should, ought to, and had better, and the differences between them. So, what's the difference between should and ought to? You can use should in question forms, but you cannot use ought. Okay, what's the difference between had better and the other two? Had better is a strong advice. So, when you use had better, if you don't take the advice, something negative will happen. Okay, there are some useful expressions to soften your advice. You don't want to be like bossy. These are maybe, perhaps. I think you can start your sentence with these ones, or you can use the adverb probably. The following examples are taken from the book on page 225. Maybe you should be more careful when you write your CV. Okay, I don't say you should be more careful when you write your CV. I don't like to be bossy. That's why I say maybe you should be more careful when you write your CV. Or I think he ought to look for a different job. Again, to soften my advice, I start with my sentence, in my opinion, I think. She probably should take the job, or she should probably take the job. Probably can be used just before should, after subject, or after should, before the verb. But we can only use it with ought to, just before ought to. We cannot say she ought to probably take the job. We must say she probably ought to take the job. Now we are over with how to give an advice. To give an advice, we use should, ought to, and had better. So, how do we make suggestions? Before we go into details, remember the difference between advice and suggestion. Advice is stronger than suggestion, right? Suggestion is a possible plan. So the models we are going to use will change. To make suggestions, we need models. And these models are might and could. Of course, other than models, we have something else. And these are why questions. Let's start with the models. The models we are going to use are might and could. These models state a choice of multiple actions. There are lots of actions you can do, but I am giving you as a suggestion this one. You might try to look like you're enjoying yourself. You can or you may not. It's all up to you, but in my opinion, as a suggestion, you might try to look like you're enjoying yourself. Or we could go out for a drink after work tomorrow, if you want. If you want is important here. It's a suggestion. If you want, we can go. If you don't want, we may not go. Note that might can be used with want to soften making suggestion. Again, we don't want to look like boss. You might want to spend more time studying and less time playing video games. I'm not just saying you should spend more time studying. It's my opinion, it's all up to you. Or you might want to save all your prayers for your driving test tomorrow. Again, it's a suggestion, it's a strong opinion. Okay, what's the difference between might and could? The answer is negative sentences. While making a negative suggestion, could not is not used because the meaning changes. We can only use might not to give a suggestion, to give a negative suggestion. You might not want to eat the cheesecake, it's very calorific. You will gain weight. So, in my opinion, you might not want to eat the cheesecake. Or you might not want to go to the party. It will be a terrible party. As a suggestion, don't go there. As I said before, we can use the models could and might to give a suggestion. Also, we can use why questions to give a suggestion. So, what are these why questions? There are two types of such questions. The first one is why don't subject verb or rest of sentence, and why doesn't subject verb and rest of the sentence. Let's look at the examples. You look real tired. Why don't you take some time out and rest? I'm suggesting taking some time out and rest. So I can also say you might want to take a rest. As you can see, why don't you? Or this one, it's getting late in the evening now. Why don't we stop now and work on this tomorrow morning? What am I suggesting? I'm suggesting stopping to work for tonight. The second type of why questions is why not plus verb. This time I don't use any subject. Look at the example. Why not take a break in the southwest? Do you see any subject here? No. We just use why not plus the base form of the verb. Why not take a break in the southwest? Or why not take some time out and rest? Remember from the previous slide, we said why don't we take some time out and rest? This time we don't use any subject here. Or why not stop now and work on this tomorrow morning? Again, the same thing as the previous slide. If you're so unhappy, why not leave? I don't use any subject after why not. The lesson is over for now. Of course, it is not enough. Practice makes perfect. Have a look at your books and do the exercises. If you have any problems, you can ask your teachers about your questions. And please don't forget to stay home and wash your hands.